Welcome to Bloomberg New Economy Conversations. I'm Andy Browne, and as always in this series, we talk to business leaders operating on the front lines about the key decisions they're making as COVID-19 upends the global economy. My guest today is Dr. Tom Leighton, the co-founder and CEO of Akamai, which provides cybersecurity and network services, all about making the internet fast, reliable, and secure. Tom, welcome to the program.
Nice to be here. Thank you.
So, Tom, on this program, we've spoken to CEOs across a range of industries, from healthcare to finance to manufacturing, and they're telling us they're seeing an incredibly rapid shift toward a digital economy, more progress in 3 or 4 months than they might have expected in a decade. How do you measure this transformation in terms of internet traffic? Give us a sense of the numbers.
There's a lot of ways to measure it. If you just looked at raw bits, how many bits per second are flowing over the pipes, we had a year's worth of growth there overnight. On the Akamai platform, traffic is now double what it was last year, which is pretty amazing when you think about it. Transactions are up even more. If you look at the amount of commerce being done online, that used to grow by sort of 2 points a year. We were, projecting a year of 18% of commerce being online, but boy, it's probably the majority of commerce has been done online. So you do have at least a decade's worth of growth there. If you look at security, we got years worth of growth overnight. The attackers have really stepped up the attacks to take advantage of the distraction people have now and that companies have, and the vulnerabilities created when people are working remotely.
We'll get to the scammers and the fraudsters in a minute, but that's extraordinary. A doubling of internet traffic. So if that happened immediately after the government imposed this lockdown, how did Akamai respond to this phenomenal increase in demand? How did it impact the business?
Well, it's a lot of scrambling, but we're set up to handle vast amounts of traffic. That is a key part of our business. And our servers are located very close to end users in over 4,000 places in over 1,000 cities, and not so much in the big cloud data centers where you could easily get overwhelmed. And there were challenges with the core routing points in the internet, but our architecture allowed us to deliver, a huge increase in traffic, and the internet, stayed basically okay.
Has that traffic stayed at an elevated level, or has it come back toward more normal levels now?
No, I think what you'll see is this is the new normal, the new baseline, and it'll grow at more normal rates from here, so that it's not going to go down at all. We haven't seen that, even as people have been out of their homes a lot more. But it'll have more normal growth patterns going forward.
So the baseline, does that baseline compare with the old normal, as it were?
Well, it just took a huge step up all at once, basically, and then the trajectory is now, a steady rise from there. Internet traffic normally grows. People watch more online. They watch at higher quality levels. That generates more traffic. There's more e-gaming all the time, more transactions being done online all the time. And so there is a normal growth pattern, just had this step function up all at once.
Big question. Everybody's talking about it. Is work from home a permanent shift? What's your view?
I think so. I think companies that can have people work at home, certainly tech, our company is an example. Very quickly, early March, we went to 95+% of our workforce, asking them to work remotely for their own safety. And I think when we come out of this, we'll still have a majority of our workforce will be remote. They're saying they want to, and it's worked fine. So I think that'll persist.
A majority working permanently from home, or do you envisage a more flexible type of arrangement?
I think it'll be flexible for pretty much almost all our employees, and on any given day, the majority would not be in the office. I think that's how it'll play out. We'll have to see. we're all still dealing with COVID, but the employee survey suggests that this is going to be permanent. And I've talked to a lot of other CEOs and executives, and they're seeing the same trends.
So you mentioned the fraudsters and the scammers that are having a field day as everybody works from home, as offices fragment. Have they changed their tactics in any way? And have you changed your defenses in any way?
There's been a huge ramp up in attacks, and in a lot of different dimensions. The scale of the attacks, how much traffic they throw at a target. We're seeing the largest attacks that have ever happened on the internet. The frequency of attacks are just way up, and the sophistication, the spread of malware is extraordinary. We saw a 5x increase in the spread of malware from the beginning of the shelter in place to 2 months later. A doubling of attempted account fraud, where a bot army is trying stolen credentials to take over your bank account or take over your commerce account. Huge increases. In fact, they're even hiding the malware in sites that have information about COVID. So you think you're trying to get the latest information or news, and really you're getting malware. The threat actors are not hurt by COVID at all. They've always worked remotely, and they're taking advantage of all the disruption and the distraction, and employees now working remotely where it is generally less secure.
What have we learned about what works and doesn't work in a digital world? It seems to me that we like the idea of grocery shopping online more and more, but educating kids, not so much.
Yeah, I think people like getting the kids off to school, and I think the kids like being in school, given all things considered. I think the video conferencing has worked generally very well. I think employees can work remotely. It is tougher on the kids, I think. Now, it can be done, but you face problems with a digital divide. Not all kids have the same access, and that makes it hard. And the kids may have a harder time concentrating, and they miss the social aspect of school, I think. Commerce has moved online in a big way. I think that's here to stay. We all want to get outside and maybe do some shopping, or go to a restaurant or a movie or something, but a lot more of commerce will be online in the future.
Just to pick up on that digital divide point, what are the solutions to this? What are the workarounds that you're seeing?
Well, we need to get better connectivity into the disadvantaged neighborhoods, the folks that don't have it. And that was a problem before, and it really has a lens on it now, because you need that connectivity to learn, to have remote learning. And that's a really important problem.
So not all of your customers are doing well. Retail and travel in particular have been devastated by the pandemic. Live sports also suffering. What's the digital future of those industries, do you think?
Well, yeah, good question. Travel, that's tough. They are going through a lot of pain right now. We've worked with a lot of our travel customers to help them through this period. They will get through it by and large. Retail has been a mixed bag. Companies that really relied on brick and mortar, they're hurting because they've lost a lot of that. All their business is online now, so our engagement with them is much more than it was before. I think retailers that were primarily online, they're in very good shape because there's more business for them, and they haven't had the hit on the brick and mortar side. Our commerce traffic is way up. Of course, you really hate to see, the bankruptcies, from some of the well-known brick and mortar brands.
I want to ask you a couple of geopolitical questions. As entire industries move online, the internet itself is facing challenges. It's no longer possible to talk about a free and open internet. China put up its firewall many years ago in the name of internet sovereignty, and today preaches that idea all over the world. Now the US is building firewalls against Chinese content. Are we headed for two internets? One dominated by China, the other dominated by the US? If so, what are the implications?
I don't think we're headed for two internets, but the different rules that are applied in different geographies certainly makes things complicated. As you know, you have many countries have their own rules around data privacy. Heck, in the United States, every state is starting to adopt its own rules for data privacy. And this makes doing business on the internet obviously more complicated. It also can make agreements between countries on new protocols. That gets more complicated. Internet security gets more complicated when the world's major governments don't agree on some of the basics. But I think we have one internet. I think that's here to stay. It's just a little bit more complicated to navigate.
So but the internet is complicated. Sure, the internet was supposed to deliver a single global digital marketplace. Does it now follow? Do you think that we'll see separate trading and financial ecosystems? I mean, it's more than simply complicated, isn't it? I mean, we're talking about a division now, a split in the entire architecture. Certainly that's the way it seems to be going with 5G.
Well, there's obviously competition between major countries and major companies. There's a big prize, especially in terms of 5G, big economic prize. There's big concerns around security. And obviously with something like 5G becomes the core of your communications infrastructure, countries are going to worry about security and who controls that infrastructure. But I do think we still have one internet. I think 5G really enhances it. It'll bring a lot more devices online. They'll have much lower latency, much higher throughput. I think it really helps enable the Internet of Things and interesting new applications. And it is still one internet, but there's different rules in different geographies that you'll have to navigate. So it's a lot more complicated.
And different standards, no? I mean, if you've got Huawei acting as the standard bearer and standard setter for China, Ericsson and Nokia leading the charge from the West, we're talking really about a split in internet 5G standards, which actually could have quite profound implications for businesses, no?
If there really became dueling standards and so things were not interoperable, that would not be a good situation. But it would be okay as long as one network that has one vendor's equipment can speak and transmit messages through the internet to another network that has different equipment. Then it's okay. It's not as big a deal then.
And is that the outcome that you expect?
I think so. I do think there will be a basic level of agreement so that the various infrastructures can communicate, and they do today. Now, there can be filters placed and blocking certain transmissions, but the core infrastructure does work well as one internet and does communicate.
On the positive side, 5G will make internet line speeds lightning quick, turbocharging the shift we've been talking about to the digital economy. Much of your business is about speeding up the digital, the delivery of content in a world of relatively slow networks. So how does Akamai fit into this new 5G world? Where are the new opportunities for you?
We're really excited about 5G. It'll take several more years really to get broadly deployed, but it enables many more devices to connect to the internet. It enables, very fast and high quality last mile communications. And that means it'll be even more important to be doing the delivery and the compute and the security at the edge of the internet, close to the end users. Because if you're not, you're really going to notice having substandard performance and inadequate security. And being at the edge, close to the end users, is where Akamai's always been, and we're unique that way, having our infrastructure in 4,000 places. So it really is a great development for us. And I think that the whole range of new applications will be developed, many of which we haven't even figured out yet. We'll be surprised when they happen. Sort of like you go back to the advent of broadband. And boy, did that change things. And it led really to social networking. And who would have thought about that 20 years ago? And that really has changed our lives. I think IoT and 5G, you'll see similar kinds of new capabilities that become ubiquitous.
Tom Leighton, it's been a pleasure. Thank you for your insights.
Thank you.